Hello and welcome to coverage of the semifinals here at Grand Prix Minneapolis Magic 2019 Core Set Limited. Maria Bartholdi, Paulo Vitor Damaderosa here in the booth with you, and Chi-Cheng Ye versus Magnus Lanto. Magnus Lanto playing blue-white, and Chi-Cheng, only islands available now, but Omen Speaker might have something to say about that. Here we're going to take a Scry 2.
Yeah, and I think both decks look decent to me. I kind of like Chuchenya's power level a little bit more. I think Magnus Lanto had, he's splashing for two switcheroos, but he doesn't necessarily have a switcheroo deck. He doesn't have the cards that you would really want to give your opponent, like the 1-2s that make a token, or even the Salvage of Secrets. He does have Daybreak Chaplain, for example, but that's not even a bad card against his deck. He's playing a weenie deck. So that is a great combo.
Oh, here we go. Daybreak Chaplain with Johnny's Pridemate. Whenever you gain life, you get to put a counter on the Pridemate. So we're going to start kicking things off here with a counter already on his 2-2, turning it into 3-3.
Yeah, and that will demand an answer pretty soon. Especially, if the card gets to attack again and the Primate becomes a 4-4, then it's now immune to Australian Spores, which we know there are 2 copies of in Chi-Cheng's deck. And then it's kind of like Lich's Caress or Bust at this point. And I'm not sure he has any bounce.
Yeah, I'm going to pull up a copy of his deck list here. Oh, no, that's Nathaniel Knox.
Yeah, I think it is the first one that we saw.
Oh, here it is.
Yeah, so there's Lich's Caress. There's no Nightmare's Thirst, a bit ambitious, but possible. And then there's True Australian Spores, and I don't see any bounce. And so there's only one removal spell that deals with the Pridemate after that. I feel like... Yeah, do you just have to double block?
Wow. Double blocking on the Daybreak Chaplain. And here we go. A trick from Magnus Lanto. It's Disperse. And that's going to cause the departed deckhand to have to be gone anyway because it was targeted with a spell. And so the Omen Speaker damage is just going to bounce, and we're going to put another counter on Johnny's Pridemate. And that Pridemate just might run away with the game.
Yeah, it really just might do that unless Chi-Cheng finds Lich's Caress. He doesn't even have Reassembling Skeleton to block it forever, for example. So it's really not looking great for him. Well, he does have a 5-5 now, which will... stand the bleeding a little bit.
All right, so Gearsmith Guardian joins the party for Chi-Cheng Ye here alongside the Omen Speaker. Johnny's Pridemate currently a 4-4. Remorseful Cleric in play now for Magnus Lanto as well.
Yeah, I don't believe there are that many ways of growing the Pridemate in Magnus Lanto's deck. Let's take a look at it. But he does have Herald of Faith. That will work every time it attacks. Ooh, Leonine War Leader also works, it makes 2 1/1 life linkers.
Rustwing Falcon and Trusty Pact Beast join the team for Magnus Lanto. Yeah, if we can get that Leonin War Leader out there, all right. Just a good card on its own as well.
Oh yeah, for sure, a great card.
Epicure of Blood is the play for Chi-Cheng Ye.
Yeah, not as good in a spot like this as we've seen from the black-white decks, and I believe there is a Spirit Charge in Magnus Lanto's hand. So, and there's a Herald of Faith.
Here we go. Herald of Faith. Things are about to get out of control on Lanto's side of the board. Not only that, besides the fact that it's a 3-power flyer.
Yeah, Chi-Cheng really, really needs something here, and ideally he plays Psychic Symbiont here and makes Magnus Lanto discard that Inspired Charge while also adding a flying blocker to the table, but he doesn't have that. And we know he has 2 copies of it, and this is the turn where he's reaching the 6 mana, so it's very feasible that he would play it. Magnus can't really play around it either, but... In this spot, it's interesting whether Magnus, maybe he should have held that Trusty Pack Beast. Like, they have deck lists, he knows there are 2 copies of that card in Chi-Cheng Ye's deck, and the Pack Beast, obviously it's going to be good, especially with the charge, but if you already have your next turns mapped out, I wonder if it would be better to just keep that card.
Gearsmith Guardian on the attack for Chi-Cheng Ye.
Cleric's
going to block.
That is an unconventional attack.
Yeah, no fear. Another counter goes on the Pridemate and Surge Mirror as a follow-up play for Ye.
Yeah, I think you kind of just scare Magnus Lanto into blocking there. Magnus Lanto wants to grow his Pride Mate, so decided that blocking is okay. But I would probably just have taken 5 here.
He is at a healthy life total. We're at 23 now to Ye's 12. Herald of Faith is going to be able to attack in as well, grow that Pride Mate yet again.
Yeah, we might see Strangling Spores from Chichen. That is the card that could make some sense for him to have. If Magnus just attacks with everything, I'm not sure there are many great blocks.
Yeah, and here we go. Right-click attack all for Magnus Lanto.
Yeah. And three of the creatures fly, so that's already lethal.
Right.
If Chichen does cast the spores to try to shrink the Primate and kill it in combat, he will just die to the flyers. And Magnus Lanto doesn't even have to act first here. What's Chichen going to do?
Yeah, do something.
He will probably end up acting first, I imagine, because there are not many ways it can hurt him. Especially because Strangling Spores might just have been aimed at the Herald of Faith in a spot like this, because that would stop the Primate from growing.
There's Inspired Charge from Magnus Lanto, and Chi-Cheng Yang scoops him up, and that is game number 1 going to Magnus Lanto. Blue-white, nice aggressive deck that he's built here, and just shows off how you don't always need to do what the set wants you to do. Building an artifact-themed deck, you can just build a pretty good blue-white Flyers deck.
Yeah, and the one blue card he played, the Spurs, was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
It let him attack into the double block, got rid of the Departed Dockhand.
How do you like Disperse in this format?
About as much as I like it in any other format. I feel like it's very good in some spots and very bad in others. If you're playing against a grindy matchup like another control deck, then it's not really good. You don't want to spend the card to have this type of effect. If you're playing against a green Auras deck, like green-white, then it's really good. So it really depends what kind of deck you have, how aggressive you are, and what kind of deck you're playing against. I'm never very happy to pick it early, but I'll also end up playing it a lot in my decks.
Okay, players here heading to their sideboards as we get ready for game number 2.
Yeah,
what are you thinking about generally if you're either of these players in this position as to what you can do to try and help advance your deck versus theirs?
Well, I don't think anything super weird happened. It's not like, if he had removal for a Genesis Pride Mate, he's not going to be like, well, I better board in my second Lich's Caress. Like, that would be in his deck already. So, and I don't feel like he can bring in any creature that matches up particularly well against what his opponent is doing. He could have something like Hired Blade, which is just a 3/2, to block 1/3s, for example. That might work in some capacity, but this wasn't one of those games where you lost to a specific thing that you can combat after board. I think he just got early destroyed. Mostly by that Primate, but also by all the Flyers from Magnus Lanto. Like, I believe if that Primate didn't even exist, Magnus Lanto would still win the game just on the back of his Flyers. And it's not like Blue-Black has a Plummet that it can board in, right? You just cannot do that.
Yeah, I've seen the Johnny's Pride Mate get out of control in pretty rapid fashion this weekend. Earlier, I was playing a side draft at the tournament on Friday, and I saw an enormous Pride Mate just a few turns into the game. I looked over, oh, that's not going well for their opponent.
Yeah, it definitely snowballs a lot. And, once it's clear that you're not going to kill it, then it can just grow every turn. Especially in this set, there's so many ways to repeatedly gain life.
And we talked about the importance of 2-drops having something else to do in M19 besides just being 2/2s for 2, right? Like Walking Corpse, for instance, just a 2/2 for 2. And a Johnny's Pride Mate is, kind of a prime example of that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Johnny's Pride Mate one of the better 2-drops in the format just because being a 2-mana 2/2 is okay. The problem is a lot of time it doesn't do anything in the late game. But a Johnny's Pride Mate grows into, we saw it as a 6/6. This game, for example. So that is definitely what you want in your 2-drop, and a lot of decks do play as many Primates as you can get your hands on. It is the best payoff for the life gain deck. Magnus Lanto doesn't have the traditional black-white life gain deck, but he does have some life gain components, and that's already enough. So imagine if he did have the traditional black-white deck, then that creature might end up even bigger.
Something I always think about near the beginning of a format is how important are 2-drops as kind of a bellwether for how I can expect the format to go in Limited, Draft, or Sealed, kind of separate considerations sometimes.
Yeah, the draft and sealed are very different, I think. Draft is a lot less bomb heavy, a lot more synergy, tempo. Sealed is a lot like who has the best cards. You have to play ways of dealing with your opponent's best cards, play more conservatively, just to draw a lot of the time. And draft, sometimes you just, explode.
All right, we're underway here for game number 2 in our semifinals. Magnus Lanto versus Chi-Cheng Peter Ye in 6th place, Magnus in 8th. And Omen Speaker once again is going to kick things off for Ye. Rustwing Falcon for Magnus.
Yeah, and he immediately keeps the Swamp and chips the Psychic Symbiont. So probably a light hand.
Cavalry Drill Master is going to give an extra 2 power to the Rustwing Falcon here for Lanto. Getting in for 3 in the air. And Rustwing Falcon, too, a card that, do you think, I guess you play it with the Inspired Charge in the white deck, but without any Knight's Pledge?
Yeah, it is a card. It's still, a fine creature. It still attacks for 1 every turn. Doesn't incidentally die to many things like one used to in the past. And, yeah, if you do have Inspired Charge, which he does, it kind of works. It's also not the worst to give your opponent with Switcheroo.
Yeah, Switcheroo. Getting in for some more chip damage here is a Sun-Tailed Hawk, and there is the Daybreak Chaplain we saw aiding in so much work in game number 1.
Yeah, and no land for Magnus Lanto, no third land, and no blue mana. So he's not under any pressure at this point. His opponent has 1/8 worth of stats in play, which is not very impressive. And we do know his opponent is probably land-like too.
Yeah, putting up a nice wall here for the Surge Mare, which, if left uncontested, can start drawing some cards.
Oh, wow.
Whoa, Strangling Spores on the Rustwing Falcon. Mad respect for the 1/2 flyer. Why do you think you did that, Paulo?
That is so unexpected. The only thing I can think of is Stealer of Secrets. That's the only thing that would make this play make sense to me. But I don't even think you should do it at that point anyway. You can just do that in the turn if you find a better target. I don't know. That is really surprising to me. I don't even think he has Stealer of Secrets in his deck.
Leonin Vanguard comes into play for Magnus Lanto here. Just going to gain him a life as long as he's got 3 creatures at the beginning of combat. Get +1/+1 as well, so it becomes a 2/2.
Yeah, it also works well with the Pride May. Oh, sorry, it's Savager of Secrets, not Stealer of Secrets. Stealer of Secrets is a different card for a different set. But yeah, I don't think he has Savager of Secrets.
Let's take a look. Oops.
So very, very liberal with that removal spell. Not under any pressure.
He doesn't have any.
And kind of shows that maybe he has problems with flyers. Because this isn't I need to kill this Falcon right now, otherwise it's going to kill me. It is a statement that says, I'm probably going to have to end up killing this Falcon anyway, because I don't have another way of dealing with it. At which point, I might just kill it immediately and save myself 5 life, for example. So you have to be feeling pretty good if you're Magnus here, because you know that a 1/2 flyer was threatening enough that Sprangasport was played.
Yeah, a lot of times we see the sleep play that looks kind of suspicious, and then Salvager of Secrets comes back to once again send your creatures to nighty-night time. But yeah, I would also expect something like a Salvager, but Ye doesn't have any in his list. Still stuck on white mana only for Lanto here, although most of his cards do operate fine with this. It's just the fact that he's missing his 4th here. He's got a Star-Crowned Stag stuck in his hand.
Oh,
looks like we're going to maybe shoot a kitty cat down, and indeed we are. Skeleton Archer takes down the Leonin Vanguard, and there's our blue mana for Lanto.
Yeah, and now he has to play his rare.
Yeah.
And, is there a way for Chi-Cheng to deal with it? He doesn't necessarily find a way to deal with it now, because it's not like he can attack and would just get double blocked. But it is a threatening card. It's no Hero of Bladehold, but still quite good Leonin War Leader.
Good enough for Standard, Paulo?
Oh, I don't think so.
Dang it.
I think maybe after the rotation, but 4 toughness is just so punishing.
Yeah, that's true.
There's Chandra, there's Glorybringer. You can't just tap out for a 4/4 and have it immediately die at a deficit, so to speak. So maybe after the rotation, it also doesn't match up well against like the Scarab God and cards like that.
Yeah, that's true. All right, my cat deck dreams will be put on hold.
Oh, there is a cat deck. It is good there.
Okay.
I don't think the cat deck is good, but
well, yeah.
but the card is good in the deck. So there you go.
Okay, sure.
Baby steps.
Leonin War Leader being copied here by this mirror image.
Yeah, we're just gonna see a sleep here, I think, and an attack. No, maybe not, but he doesn't have enough blue mana to cast sleep and pump the Surge Mare, so it's not gonna attack for that much this turn. Well, he's gonna attack for 8, and then next turn he can attack for 12 if Magnus doesn't play anything, but that's still not enough to win, given that Magnus gained some life this game.
Yeah, so we're going to see a big swing in here thanks to that sleep, but like you said, Magnus getting an opportunity to play some creatures here, potentially, and they're going to wake back up next turn, and he won't be dead.
Yeah, and next turn, Jingyang probably can't attack, because if he ever taps all of his creatures against this board of 2 Leonin War Leaders, then that's so much life for Magnus. And Magnus can even steal the Epicure of Blood, which is much better to his deck than in his exchange.
That's true.
He would love to have that card right now.
No ways to gain life for Ye that we've seen.
Yeah, I don't think there's Vampire Neonate.
No.
There is the Vampire Sovereign.
Oh, yeah, there's one copy of that.
There is the Thirst that gains 1 life.
Switcheroo here from Lanto.
It's very interesting to me that he chose to give the Daybreak Chaplain over the 2-1. So that to me means he just doesn't want to die. Because the 1/3 Lifelinker is a significantly better card, I think. So that he would choose...
Oh, here we go. Nightmare's Thirst.
Oh, that... So he did choose to give the 2-1. No, he didn't. Okay. That is a very good reason. That is actually a very good reason to give the 1/3 instead of the 2-1, because then Nightmare's Thirst doesn't fizzle the exchange.
So we have made the exchange here. Daybreak Chaplain heads over to Ye's side of the table. Epicure of Blood for Lanto. Although those two cards would like to be friends.
Yeah, what's Chichinya going to do here?
There's definitely cards that he can draw that help him out in this position. He does have 2 copies of Psychic Symbiont in the deck, as well as Vampire Sovereign.
Yeah, Vampire Sovereign would be great here, because it deals damage, it threatens a big attacker in the air. Psychic Symbiont's still pretty good.
Magnus has plenty of beefy blockers back that will come off of their sleep next turn, and if he wants to attack, he can start gaining some more life. That mirror image is copying the Leonin War Leader, by the way.
Yeah, and, an attack from those 2 Leonin War Leaders, it also brings in 4 1/1 Lifelinkers.
Yes.
So that is definitely a good way to swing a race. And maybe we'll just have to see Jiang sit back here.
I do see a copy of Abnormal Endurance in Ye's hand. So that's going to be his final card. Here's his Graveyard Marshal.
Yeah, currently not going to be able to make a token. There are no creatures in the graveyard, but...
And yeah, here we go. Magnus Lanto says, all right, well, I'm going to attack. Here's my 4 cat tokens tapped and attacking.
Yeah, so is that an Inspire Charge attack?
Oh my gosh.
It definitely looks like one.
It sure does, but that's going to be brutal.
And here I think having decklist really pays off. Because if you just make an attack like this against someone and they have a cancel for your Inspire Charge, then maybe you're not in that good a spot. Though it is kind of a safe attack regardless, because there's not much...
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, he gets punished by losing 1 Leonin War Leader to a double block. He trades that with a 3/3, but everything else is going to get through, basically. He will be dealing a lot of damage, gaining some life, so it's a good attack even against cancel, but knowing decklist and knowing your opponent does not have that cancel is good insurance and makes the attack much safer. He does know about 2 Strangling Spores, one's already gone, but I don't think he really cares. He's going to gain so much life. Like, he's going to gain 12 life here, so even if his opponent does do something, he doesn't care.
Pretty safe attack for Lanto, as you pointed out. Yay, lining up blocks, kind of deciding the final block here of where to put this Siege Mare. It does have mana available to pump it.
Yeah, probably has to try to kill the War Leader here.
Yeah, that's what it looks like he's going to do. And sure enough, there is the Inspired Charge, and there is a handshake. Magnus Lanto, 2-0 over Chi-Cheng-Ye here in our semifinals. So Magnus Lanto, who was going to sort of retire, it sounds like, after this Pro Tour, pulled right back in here, heading to our finals at Grand Prix Minneapolis, Magic Online champion. There he is. Fantastic looking deck too. Kind of really showed off here for us. Those Inspired Charges looking excellent.
Yeah, he really played out better than it looked, kinda. You know, it looked just like a normal deck, but he won very convincingly, I think.
All right, let's take a peek at our other semifinals here. Nathaniel Knox versus Dan Troja. Dan Troja playing a Sultai deck. It's splashing blue for a couple of flyers. Excellent deck, though. Green-black key colors here. A lot of big creatures versus Nathaniel Knox playing red-blue.
Yeah, and if he does make it to the finals to play against Magnus Lanto, he will really enjoy having those 2-3 flyers. Because I think Magnus Lanto's best way of winning against a green deck is with flyers. Though this game is not looking so great for Dan Troja, I have to say.
That's true. Djinn of Wishes just hitting the table for Nathaniel Knox. And that is one of the top bombs in M19 Limited.
Yeah, not many ways of dealing with it by Dan Troja. I think we've seen a Lich's Caress, and we also know he drafted a Plummet for his sideboard, though we don't know if he brought it in.
Yeah, he does have one Rabid Bite.
Oh yeah, that will also kill it if you can have, the Boar, or he has 2 Basilisk with that Tush, that makes it kill anything. Also has Declared Dominance, which would kill it in the spot. So definitely not dead to flyers or anything.
No. Djinn of Wishes, you can pay 4 mana, 2 blue, remove a wish counter from it, reveal the top card of your library. You can play that card without paying its mana cost if you don't exile it.
Yeah, very flavorful.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And BDM said it would only be more flavorful after the 3rd wish counter is removed. You just get 3 more because, of course, your last wish was wishing for more wishes.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say, well, then you sacrifice it because you free it. It's not under your control anymore. But you just want more wishes. You just want to enslave the Djinn forever.
Yeah, gamer's gonna game.
Yeah, well, I guess now we know which alignment we are.
Rock's Oracle for Dan Troja. We'll draw him a card here.
Yeah, and that card was Lich's Caress. So
all right.
A turn late, it will still give Nathaniel a wish if he wants to do that, but we'll get rid of the Djinn eventually.
It is going to cost 4 mana, so getting your wish isn't free.
No, it isn't. Yeah, you have to rub the lamp.
But first things first, we're going to attack here. Gearsmith Guardian smashing in for 5. Djinn of Wishes also getting into the fray, as well as that little Sky Scanner. Vampire Neonate looks like it's interested in chumping here. Interesting that it's the Neonate that's chumping and not the Druid of the Call. That's true.
Because the Neonate is usually a better card at this spot in the game. That tells me that maybe Dan wants to use this mana next turn. Because otherwise I think he would just be rid of the Druid. So the Neonate is going to head to the graveyard here, but first it's going to drain for 1. Yeah, the Explosive Apparatus can get rid of the, your favorite, the Pizza Rocks, or... Yeah, the Pizza Rhino. Oh, Pizza Rhino, yeah, sorry. My apologies. You're forgiven. Yeah, I mean, only 2 toughness on it. But hey, how much can you ask? It's a green card that draws you a card. Yeah, I want that one from Conspiracy that's a 4/4 turns you into the Monarch. Well, maybe for Chaos Drafting. Okay, so, yeah, like you said, the Explosive Apparatus is going to take down Rock's Oracle. Yeah, that exchange is going to happen anyway, so you might as well just do it before your opponent gets to untap their mana and, have some sort of Titanic growth, which could be devastating. So, yeah, I like doing it in your main phase. You're not going to find a better target. Here we're going to see that Lich's Caress try to take down this Djinn of Wishes, but Nathaniel Knox does get 1 wish. Cancel.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
Eh,
Anticipate.
not
Not quite.
not as good, but you know. Yeah, I wonder how much those blue decks suffer by the fact that the deck lists are known. Because if you have a blue deck, you have all those tricks
That's
you can
true.
have. You know, you could have Disperse, or Totally Lost, or Cancel, or Bone to Ash, or Essence Scatter.
But what about combat tricks?
Well, the combat tricks I think are harder to play against. You know, and it's not. It's like you play against them or you don't. Whereas the blue cards, there are a bunch of different ones, and you have to choose which ones you're going to play against. And the way that you play against one is completely different than the way you play against the other. And just the fear of them is very important. And knowing for sure that your opponent does not have a card like Cancel or Bone to Ash or Essence Scatter will make you play very differently. So
That's true.
it is a consideration, I think. I don't know if this is the case here. I actually think there are no cancels, and it's not like Dan had a choice. He had to go for it there. But I think for Magnus Lanto, for example, it might have made a difference. And I think those blue decks got slightly worse.
Yeah, taking a peek here at Nathaniel Knox's deck list, I don't see any copies of Cancel. There is a Disperse, there is an Essence Scatter as well, but no Cancel to be seen. It's an interesting question, though. And I mean, it just, disregarding, is it more hurtful for people to know about blue deck's counterspells? Just, knowing what your opponent has full stop causes you to play differently, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think fundamentally it is. I think it's not really a question that they do get worse in comparison to other decks. It's a question of how much.
Right.
I think you can still obviously draft blue. You can still obviously play Cancel, Essence Scatter. But, yeah, just knowing what you don't have is a huge thing.
Totally Lost here will send a Bristling Boar back to the top of Dan Troja's library and deprive him kind of a draw step here.
Yeah. So Nathaniel could have done that, the following turn so that the board would be delayed by a turn, but decides not to do that. And perhaps is reading Dan Troja's hand as a little bit action-packed because, again, that Druid of the Cow wasn't used to chump block instead of the Neonate. So it means your opponent wants the mana, and they'll already have 7 in play.
Right.
So that they're indicating that, if with a hand of all lands, then they wouldn't really have kept that Druid. So they have to have something meaningful here. So kind of wants to tax the mana, and
here it is. We could see Double Swell here this turn.
Yeah, because he kept that Druid.
There's the Bristling Boar, and I know the last card is Skyrider Patrol.
Tapping the Druid is a little bit annoying because the Druid can be used to double block the Gearsmith alongside the Boar, which the Unit cannot do.
So no casting of another card this turn for Dan, which is Skyrider Patrol left in his hand, but we do have the Druid of the Cowl back to block the Gearsmith Guardian with the Boar if he wants to. By the way, that Gearsmith Guardian doesn't have a blue creature in play, so it's just a 3/5 right now.
Yeah, it would still just kill the Boar, which is the same thing it would do.
True.
But yes, it is not as threatening.
Enigma Drake here for Nathaniel Knox. Let's take a look at the power.
Yeah, 3/4 is not so bad. Yeah, I think it's a pretty automatic double block here.
Mm-hmm.
You're not really heavily punished if your opponent has something anyway, because you're basically forced him to play it, and then, oh, that's a good card.
Okay, Siegebreaker Giant hits the table for Knox, and Troja's going to drain here with the Neonate, and the last card he has in hand is that Skyrider Patrol. We're going to get a new one here, but both players are pretty soon going to be playing off the top decks.
Yeah, and Nathaniel is threatening lethal here. He does have 10 points of damage at this point, and he can make 2 creatures unable to block, so then has to play something. We know he does have a creature, but if he didn't, he would just be dead.
Dan Troja's life at 8, Nathaniel Knox at 9. Dan currently up a game here in the semifinals. Magnus Lanto is our player who is locked for the finals off of our other semis. So whoever wins this match will be facing Magnus and his blue-white Go Wide Inspired Charge deck. Dan here kind of tanking a little bit on this decision.
Yeah, his decision is who is he going to use Discard Patrol on, right? That's the only thing he can do. He has to play it, and he has to use it. So the question is, which one of his other creatures is he targeting? I guess it doesn't really make that much difference, but I assume turning the Druid into a 2/4 is slightly better than turning the Neonate into a 1/4. It feels like he just randomized it, which is honestly what I feel like you kind of should do in this spot. You know, there's no way of knowing which one is correct, really.
So he's going to put the counter on the Neonate. Skyrider Patrol joins the team for Dan. But that Siegebreaker Giant is going to be a big problem.
Yeah, and here Nathaniel can just force the chump block. Right, he can just make 2 creatures unable to block and attack with everything, and then the remaining creature has to block one of the bigger creatures. He cannot block just the Skyscanner, because that is still 9 damage, and he can only gain 1 life. So Nathaniel here, if he wants to use his mana to make 2 creatures unable to block, he will just basically deal a bunch of damage and the abuse his opponent, setting up for a win next turn unless his opponent somehow draws a way to deal with the Siegebreaker Giant. So pretty comfortable position here for Nathaniel. And he probably drew something, because if he hadn't, then I think he would have just already gone for that play.
Siegebreaker Giant, you can pay 3 in a red. Target creature can't block this turn. So, mini Earthquake. 8 mana total to have 2 creatures not block, but Nathaniel Knox has plenty of it.
Yeah, it is possible that he only wants to use it on 1 creature and not 2, in which case he should... So if he wants to play a spell this turn, in which case he should probably make the 2/3 unable to block, because otherwise the Siegebreaker Giant can die in combat, and you wouldn't want that.
Okay, so the Druid of the Call and the Vampire Neonate cannot block. Siegebreaker Giant swings in, as does the Enigma Drake. So big attack step here from Nathaniel Knox.
Yeah, Skyscanner not attacking here, which is very interesting. So it could be a nod. No, it can't. I was going to say, because he won't be blocked, so it's just 1 free damage. It could, in theory, be a nod to Prodigious Growth, which we know is in Troja's deck.
That's true.
As does Nathaniel Knox. But that is just lethal anyway. Right? Because he's going to drain for 1, so Nathaniel's going to go to 8. Then on his turn, he can drain for 1 again, and then he's going to go to 7. And then the Druid will attack for 8. So even if you do have a 1/1 blocker, you're going to lose the game. So I think the Skyscanner should probably have attacked there, though I don't think it's going to make a lot of difference.
Dan falls to 3 life following that attack, living off the top of the deck here. And that will do it. Nathaniel Knox takes game number 2 here from Dan Troja, tying things up in our semifinals at 1 game apiece, our 7th seed and our 5th seed here in our top 8. And Nathaniel Knox just able to get it done. Siegebreaker Giant, late game, just a powerhouse, must be answered. Not only does it have 6 power, but the ability of making creatures unable to block, really messing with Dan's game plan there.
Yeah, for sure. And, this is a spot in which Dan's deck is not that uncomfortable in just a top deck board. He has a lot of powerful cards of his own. But when his opponent already had the Siegebreaker Giant, he was in a spot where he needed specific cards against it, and he doesn't have that many of those. So the Lich's Caress was already used. The Rabid Bite wouldn't even have worked.
No.
Because he didn't have enough power to kill Siegebreaker Giant. So, yeah, not that great a spot for him. I do still favor his deck over his opponent.
And why do you say that?
Well, I think his card quality is just higher. His opponent does have flyers, which is usually kind of the bane of those green decks,
right.
That aren't super fast and don't have a lot of removal. So the game will often turn into a race of some sort, but I think overall the cards in them's deck are just a little bit better.
So some of the flyers that Dan's got to be thinking about, we've got a Snapping Drake, of course. We saw that Djinn of Wishes as well in Nathaniel's deck. Enigma Drake, and Skyscanner is small, but it can peck in there for damage, as well as an Aven Wind Mage. But we do have some interesting evasive threats that aren't flying in Nathaniel's deck as well, in the form of Frilled Sea Serpent, too, which you usually see, a one of at the top end of some of these decks.
Yeah, and even like Boggart Brute to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I believe if Dan does have any sort of anti-flyer cyber card like Plummet or Giant Spider, he will be bringing those in. If he hasn't already, I assume he would have those for Game 2 already anyway because they have deck lists. But now he lost enough to Flyers that
right.
It'll definitely be in his mind.
Taking a look once again at Dan Troja's green, black, blue deck here. He does certainly have quite a lot of power. I was checking to see if he kept in the copy of the enchantment that draws cards with creatures power 4 or greater, and it's not there.
Didn't?
It's not there.
Yeah.
So that was an aura pick versus that pick. So
no, it was the Thorn Lieutenant.
Oh, yes, you're right, the Thorn Lieutenant. So he passed over the Thorn Lieutenant, which I think would be pretty certainly have made his deck.
Oh, for sure, the card's great.
But he did not end up playing the enchantment, which is, a pretty cool card, but sometimes doesn't look so great versus the Thorn Lieutenant, which usually is always what you need.
Yeah, the only time Thorn Lieutenant doesn't look so great is when you're not green. Basically, which it's good early, it's good late, it's good with auras, it's good by itself, so it's always just good. It would have been excellent against Kentaro Yamamoto's deck, which he beat anyway.
Yes.
So he's got that going for him. He didn't need it, but
there's a peek at Knox's draft deck here too, and red-blue deck is something that you don't see very much of in M19, Paulo.
Yeah, you don't because, well, it's kind of like Black Ring, right? The cards aren't better than the sum of their parts. And I touch on this a lot, but I think it's really true. When you're playing a white-red deck, then you have a card like Inspire Charge or Trumpet Blast, which is, okay to bad for everyone else and great for you. So you are making cards, you are turning cards that you would take 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th into cards that have the average power level of a 4th or 5th pick. So you're making all the cards in your deck better because of synergy. Black-white is a deck like this too, green-white auras. You're making the cards better than they are. And if you're a blue-red, or if you were black-green, your cards will be exactly as powerful as they are. So you have Lich's Caress, Rabbit Bite. Those are good cards.
Right.
They will be good cards for you, and good cards for anyone else, as opposed to the cards in the other archetypes that are better for you than for other people. So if you want to play blue-red, or if you want to play black-green, you need a high card quality because synergy is not getting you there because the synergy doesn't exist for this color combination. But they both seem to have powerful decks, so they do have the card quality to back up the fact that they chose this color combination.
Blue-black might be another color combination that doesn't specifically have something that it outright wants to do just based on synergy in this format too. And we saw Ken Yukihiro do some really awesome things with a blue-black deck this weekend involving Salvager of Secrets and Mirror Images.
Oh yeah, he did. All his games were so fun to watch.
Oh, they were great.
He just crushed all his opponents in a completely different way.
Right.
He did a very different broken thing against everybody. It was like he was playing Eldrazi Tron in Modern. One game he was like turn 1 Chalice of the Void. You're like, I can't win. The other game you go, well, turn 3 Karn, can't win. Then Reality Smasher can't win. They have nothing to do with each other, but they're all great and broken. And he kind of did that against everyone. It was pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, if you get a chance, I would highly recommend going back and watching some of Ken Yukihiro's games this weekend. Some really cool stuff and really unique deck building from him too. He had 4 copies of Mirror Image that he drafted in one draft, and it was super neat to see how those games played out. Just like you said, in completely different ways, winning on different axi. I don't know what the plural is every time.
No, different ways.
Different ways. There we go. Dan Troja on a mulligan here as we head into Game 3.
No, not like this, Dan Troja.
No lands here. Oof. All right, so we're going to have to go to 5, and this hurts in a semifinals when you're playing for the finals, and you have such a good deck.
Yeah, but at the same time, it hurts, but it would have hurt more last round of the Swifts.
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
So in theory, the later it is, the worse you feel probably, but the better it actually is for you. Like if you're going to decide, if you're going to mulligan to 2 in your life, sure, you can be in the finals of the PT because it means it wasn't in the semifinals of the PT. Obviously you'd rather it be in the FNM, but still, if you're going to get unlucky in a tournament, it's better to get unlucky as late as possible in that particular tournament.
Have you ever mulliganed to 2 before?
No. I've never played Manaless Dredge or in Vintage, which I believe is the only reasonable excuse for one to mulligan to 2. I have mulligan to, I think 4 is the lowest I've ever went to. I don't think I recall mulligan to 3 in an actual tournament.
No.
I have seen mulligans to 3 in limited even.
Really?
Yeah, it was Craig Wesco actually.
Okay,
who
well
we
that
saw
makes sense.
in this tournament, and he was playing Ixalan, and his hand was plains, and 3 of the 5-mana 3/4 flying dinosaur.
Oh gosh.
And he mulliganed to 3.
Oh.
Yeah, he thought he was better off trying to find a 2-drop and winning the game off of that than trying 4 straight lands and not doing anything in the early game. It was an interesting decision, but yeah, I did say that at the Pro Tour, no less. He didn't win, but it was actually a competitive game, which you would never have
That's
guessed.
pretty cool.
Yeah. Ooh, look at that axe.
All
It's
right.
getting there.
Well, that axe is now a 5/5. Thanks to skilled animator, and Dan Troja does find his 3rd land, but it's a tap land. But it is his 3rd color.
And you remember how we said, the splash isn't free.
No.
Even if you have those lands, I'm kind of hoping he draws Ripto Spire here for the rub-ins.
Oh, God.
But I'm not actually hoping that, but, I wouldn't be terribly upset if he did. Yeah, there is a cost to playing those colors. And here, he's just so far behind. Like, the best he can do is probably play Vinemare and trade with the axe.
Yeah, that's true. So, skilled animator.
Oh,
if he kills it.
He has Strangling Spores, yeah. So I guess he could just Strangling Spores that if he has that card. I don't know if he has it in hand.
I think he does. Yeah.
Yeah. He's still not in a great spot because he's going to get hit by 6. Yeah, for 6 by the Ogre. But.
So I think we are going to see this play here. Down goes a skilled animator. Axe becomes an axe once again, but turns out it's just fine as an axe equipped to that Anaki Ogre.
Yeah.
It had its life as a 5/5 creature, but oh no, not even getting attached here.
Yeah, that's probably bad for Dan that it didn't get attached. And yeah, now he's just is Lich's Caress or Bus here in this spot. I guess Vinemare. Well, that still wouldn't do it because both attackers will have enough power that you would have to block both. So unfortunately for Dan, his run at first place ends here.
Woody in chat, you'd think an axe would be a sweet creature, but I hear he's kind of a tool. Oh boy.
Is that Rich's fake account?
Yeah, probably.
In the chat, yeah.
Yeah, Dan here, head in hands, probably thinking, oh.
Yeah, we've all been in this spot,
We've been
right?
here. Like, is there something I can do?
Like, obviously there isn't,
Yeah.
Just so much going on. I mean, I don't actually know his hand. Maybe there is some combination of things, but it doesn't look like it. But he can go out with his head held high.
Absolutely.
And he put up a good fight, and there wasn't much he could do this game. He just had a horrible draw.
Well, he's gonna make him do it. There's the Vinemare.
Yep, and I think if he just taps both his creatures, that's enough because the giant has trample. So make him do it is going to be
not too much that we're investing here. And there's the handshake. Nathaniel Knox headed to the finals here. He will face Magic Online champion Magnus Lanto. So congratulations to both of our players in the semifinals. Nathaniel Knox versus Magnus Lanto. There's a look at our top 8 bracket where we've been so far today. Nathaniel Knox from Canada. He's a student up there. He had a top 8 in Vancouver, top 64 on Pro Tour rivals of Ixalan. And he said the card he wanted most open in draft was the Dryad Greenseeker.
Okay, he didn't have that. His opponent did.
No, his opponent did, yeah. But that's nice to know. Like, he also values the Greenseeker. And you at home, by the way, draft that card. Play that card if you're not. It's so good.
It is very good.
Anyway, that's my lesson for the day. The finals are coming up in just a minute. Don't go anywhere.